Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. First of all, I would very much like to start by thanking the organizers, thanking our hosts, and by acknowledging that it's extremely difficult to talk after one's boss has just finished talking, okay? So I'll try my best and try to be very specific, but there's one thing maybe that owes also some short time, and is to thank the people, Jorge Torrico, Elena Puente, who at our own organization, at our own company, Ineco, have been leading the implementation of the BEAM efforts. Let me start by saying that, as you can imagine, for us it's an extremely timely and important initiative. We think that it's an opportunity to enhance innovation in a sector, ours, which maybe we can even be bold enough to say which is rather hesitant at times to embrace change, and has known some difficulties to increase its productivity. And why not say so? It's certainly there is a certain tendency to fragmentation. It's not always easy to cooperate in our sector. So if not for any other reason, BEAM, it's important because it will allow us to enhance innovation, increase productivity, and to cooperate more effectively among ourselves. Therefore, we expect that Ineco BEAM to be part, to have a very major role at shaping the agenda of the sector, at helping us in finding new initiatives, and not in any areas, but in very major areas for all of us, such as project delivery, therefore having things in time and in budget, something that our customers do seem to care about, being capable of integrating life cycle performance from the beginning, to improve our capabilities in sustainability, affordability, and high quality, to enhance the resiliency of the projects as well, and to increase their flexibility, and at the end of the day, to improve our capacity to enhance the well-being associated to all those projects that we work for. So, having said that, I think it's very clear that we're not talking about any specific technology. As it's been said before, we're talking about things that are concerned or that require the involvement of people, of processes, of technology, and that very importantly, we seem to be giving a big push to something that particularly in the area of public works is extremely important, which is moving away or escaping away from any kind of spurious trade-off between transparency and expediency. I think that those of us who work in public works do need to be able to deliver on these two fronts equally. Therefore, there are some projects at which we have been, or in which we've been involved, mentioned by the Minister a minute ago, but I would like also to share with you that besides these projects, one of them is going to be shared with you by my colleague Elena Puente in a few minutes, we will be pursuing BEAM initiatives regardless of whether the clients pay for them or not, which doesn't always happen, as we all know, in railway stations, railway lines, and in some examples of connectivities between ports and roads, just to make sure that our portfolio of projects keeps growing at a pace which does not remain subdued to the sometimes inevitable delays of the changing of the habits of the customers and the introduction of new changes in law. Therefore, what is it that I would like to share with you? Well, I'm moving forward because I don't want to tire you going over some of the same things that have already been shared with you, but I think there's one idea that I would like to underline, just mentioned by the Minister a minute ago, which is that Spain is a leader, our companies are leaders, our practitioners are leaders in these sectors, but that we understand that leadership is must be kept, must be cared for, and that leadership requires vision, requires commitment, and requires will, and that in this specific case we need that vision, that commitment, and that will to be applied to be capable of moving ahead in these specific areas. And maybe it's also worth mentioning that the introduction and the expansion of BEAM methodologies, it's probably one of the most effective ways in which we can promote the extension of an effective ecosystem among the practitioners. It brings many advantages, but one of the advantages which might be worth mentioning is the fact that it helps us to move away, if we should have any doubt, from the idea that we are just operating on our own or that we can isolate ourselves in those projects. And this has a lot to do with the fact that this is an quintessentially open approach to projects. I would like to praise the efforts that have been particularly carried out by Building Smart, just to make sure that this initiative doesn't is not kidnapped by any specific software developer, or that on the contrary, very much to the contrary, that it remains open, that it remains oriented towards interoperability, and that it fosters the competition and the effectiveness of the projects. As you've heard, we have the responsibility to promote the introduction of BIM within the other companies of the Fomento Group, the Public Works Ministry. We have the responsibility to promote the adoption of these practices among public institutions at all different levels of government, and we will do so by acknowledging that there's still a lot of resistance to be overcome. It won't be an easy task. Therefore, allow me to thank you once again, those of you who started out this challenging endeavor of promoting BIM, but allow me to thank you particularly those of you who have come to our country from abroad, because by doing so in Spain, you are promoting our capacity to remain relevant outside Spain. I think that this is another very important message that I think we all need to walk away with, which is, in order to remain where we are, somehow like Alice in Wonderland, we need to move ahead, because if we don't, we will fall back. We cannot wait for things to be imposed on us, even if those who have the capacity to recommend, those who have the capacity to encourage, and those who have the capacity to enforce have already spoken this morning to all of us and shared with us some basic insights which are in short telling us what they are planning to do and what ways do we need to contemplate for the future. So this, on the other hand, we all understand cannot be done from one day to the next, particularly not because this is a collaborative effort. There is this African proverb, which I think most of us know, says if you want to move fast, go alone. If you want to get far, go with others. I think that this initiative from its very beginning has been an inclusive initiative, has been an initiative that has being sustainable also in its conception, in understanding that it was absolutely necessary to make sure that enough of us were moving ahead at the same time. But let me, even if I know that I'm preaching to those who are already persuaded, let me share with you how we see this just to finalize at Ineco. We see a BIM not as a technology, not as a method, as much as an understanding. We see it is not just a way to present, to showcase our projects, but as a way to manage information. But above all, we see this as a way to remain open to stakeholders, to be more transparent, and to come up with more sustainable projects. We see this as a way to give a voice to the future uses of those technologies, to the future concerns, to the potential developments in future phenomena, future-oriented phenomena like climate change, but also like innovation, like technology, from the very inception of the very project. We are committed to this because we think that it's in everybody's benefit. And therefore, from this understanding, I would like to thank you, and particularly I would like to thank the Colegio de Aparelladors for organizing this and for pushing and pulling at times, even at times when it wasn't always easy to do so. Thank you very much, and I wish you all a very successful event. And I look forward to making sure next year that we've managed to cover some new steps and to write some new chapters in this very necessary and inclusive book for all. Thank you.